Hello, everybody. It is Road to Recovery. Today is April 17th, 2023. And normally I would be doing this broadcast live. YouTube's been really messing up this morning. I tried 3 separate times to get a go live started, and every single time it would either spiral out of control or just lock up. So I give up. I'm just going to record this thing locally and then I'll just upload it. So, unfortunately, that doesn't give you the opportunity to communicate with me in chat. Sorry about that. If you still want to reach out to me, you can go up to my Twitter handle, which is linked above, and DM me or email me at roadtorecovery11@yahoo.com. That's road, the number two, recovery 11@yahoo.com. Anyway, a couple things I wanted to talk about. I'm looking for somebody that's got like about 3 years of porn sobriety under their belt, and if they'd like to come online anonymous, I can blur you out and alter your voice, but just kind of talking about your recovery process. I thought it would be kind of useful rather than talking to people that are in the process of addiction still, actually talking to a completely sober person and getting to hear their experiences. And by sharing those experiences, which is the purpose of this channel, that allows you to the opportunity to, feel some encouragement about sharing your own stories and, confronting your recovery head on. Other things I wanted to talk about this morning, I saw this post from Megan Murphy, and she was kind of talking. What was her? Activists do not like to hear this, but often jail and or mandated treatment is what saves addicts from the streets and, of course, death. Um, yeah, that's certainly true, but something stuck with me about that post because, I too I had gotten thrown into a jail, and one of the most shocking things about my stay in jail was getting to meet other people who seemed completely rational, like completely and utterly rational about all other things except for their drug addiction. And I met plenty of them. The first guy I met was just a big fat happy guy, big fat happy guy, and he was a drug addict. He was a former nurse and worked in a facility where he was a caregiver to others and was frequently stealing medications for his own private use. Became a junkie. Um, and it's difficult to be, you know, obese and a junkie, but he was one of the exceptions. But even while he was in jail, he smuggled drugs, and dare I say, he smuggled it up his ass. He smuggled drugs into the jail and was high when I was talking to him. Was high every single day I was talking to him. Um, that's what junkies do. It's junkie behavior. And for drug addicts, it's a nonstop relationship. Um, and they maintain that. They try their best to maintain that while they're in jail. And he wasn't the only one. I met lots of junkies while I was on the inside, and actually some really good people. Really good people. They're suffering. They can't break the addiction cycle, and many of them don't want to break the addiction cycle. So on Megan's post, she was kind of talking about, what was going on, and I had this nurse reply back to me, and she said it's not even about that. It's about changing your mind or just having willpower. Um, it's not about changing your mind or just having willpower. People need support. People need uh, safe supply and not continuously overdosing. People need appropriate and safe housing close to services. They need mental health and public health centers, not rock bottom. To which I replied, I don't want anyone to hit rock bottom, which is true. I don't want anyone to hit rock bottom. If you know that you're getting close to that point, you should never do it. And this applies to porn addiction. It totally applies to porn addiction too, because you never want to hit rock bottom. Um, for drug addicts, they definitely got the physiological aspects of that way harder, right? It's you know, the mind and body go into a state of perpetual decline and decay. But porn addicts go through this, man. I've seen plenty of rock bottoms. I've talked to lots of people that have hit rock bottoms. Even if you don't get into legal trouble, your mind, your body, You start to degrade. You start to give up things like, working out or, going for walks or whatever, just doing physical work, and you just become glued to whatever device you're on. The never-ending search for porn starts to wear away at your psyche. It starts to take hold of your mind and body in ways that you couldn't even perceive until it's too late. Um, and these things are highly destructive. They cause damage in a relationship, damage to family, damage in your mental health, sometimes causing states of anxiety or depression. And as the decline gets worse, you gradually feel these things more and more, and the effects of pornography use become less and less effective, that is the nature of addiction. That's very much so the nature of addiction, and it gets to the bottom of, you know, psychology treating this as a mental health crisis, that pornography addiction is in fact an addiction, just like gambling addiction is an addiction. It destroys people, It's a disease. Um, so anyway, I went on to this saying, I think I do, however, think a desire to change is important to successful recovery. Sobriety by force is not the same as wanting sobriety. And so, what do we talk about in 12-step groups? And this is why I think there's a certain strength to a 12-step recovery process, because the very first step is an acknowledgement that you are an addict. You've got to acknowledge that, and that in and of yourself, that you're an addict. And then as we move on through the steps, we're taking the person through, okay, I'm an addict, right? I don't want to be an addict. So what do I have to do to change, right? And then accepting the part that you're an addict, and accepting change as the way to be better for yourself. And I say this often, that sobriety is great. Sobriety is fantastic, but you can be forced into sobriety. The state can force you into sobriety by restricting what you are and what you do. So, getting a person into a facility that restricts all of their behavior is fantastic, right? It stops them from their addictive cycle, right? But ultimately, what will make a successful recovery is when you have the willpower and the desire to change yourself, to change your state of being, right? So sobriety is a state that you're currently in right now, right? You're not acting out, you're being sober. You could either choose to be sober, or somebody could force you to be sober, right? But the person who chooses sobriety, who chooses a path of recovery, has a step over the person who does not. This doesn't matter what addiction we're talking about. Doesn't matter what addiction we're talking about. You have to choose sobriety if you want to even have a shot. Why am I saying all this? What's going to happen to the person who finally gets out of that clinic, who was forced to be there, not by their own, um, not by their own free will? So if you go into jail and you get thrown into jail, and they throw you into either jail first and then a recovery program, or just jail in general, the second that person gets out, what are they going to do? They're going to go act out again. They're going to go right back into their addiction, because that's where they want to be. And you're not going to ever talk me into anything other than the only way to do this is to seek sobriety, but being conscious of your own free will, to saying that I need to change. It's the only way that happens, man. Now, there's people that of their own free will want to change, that still have difficulty, like they're still in that addictive cycle, right? And that person I still give an edge over, because they're still trying. They still want to change. And they're going to stumble a few times. A lot of addicts do, and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to make a few stumbles. As long as you're in your heart, you're saying to yourself that I know where I'm at right now isn't good for me. That's the key to recovery, man. You want success in recovery, you've got to want it. Got to want it. Anyway, I'll make this short and sweet today. Anyway, that's all I really had to say. Stay on the road to recovery if you are interested in doing that interview. If you happen to be 3 years sober, reach out to me, road to recovery 11 at yahoo.com. Like, share, subscribe if this is meaningful to you. And oh, by the way, I do not monetize anything, whether it's my Twitter account, yeah, my YouTube account. There's nothing here about me making money. This is all 12-step work for me. I'm trying to help out and reach other addicts. So thank you for listening and have a good day. Stay on that road to recovery.